And Pendancers, we are live with Carlota Pereda, and she's the filmmaker behind one of my all-time favorite shorts, and hopefully was soon to be one of my all-time favorite features, PIGGY, Cerdita. Carlota, first of all, very nice to have you back at Pendance.
Very nice to be back.
Yeah. So this process of adapting a short film to a feature film, it was a very complicated, I'm assuming, like very lengthy process. Can you take us through from A to Z, if you don't mind, very quickly about where it started, the story, the origins, the script writing stage, the short, then the financing, then the feature? It's like, I'm assuming it's like 6-year process, 5-year process.
Yeah, something like that. When I first wrote the screenplay for the short, I was just releasing my first short film called The Blondes. And it took me 2 years to find the leading actress for the short, which is Laura Galan, who is also the leading actress for the film. So the short took me quite a long time just because I knew I needed the perfect actress for the leading role. And while I was doing the short, I had the idea for the film. It was just when I was in the middle of shooting, something like that. There's just the idea of the conflict of this character just wouldn't let go. And also one of my best friends, who is the costume designer for the short, Alberto Valcárcel, told me this is a movie, and we were shooting it, and he was right. So I just fell in love with Sarah, with the character, and I just wrote the treatment for the film without even knowing if the show was going to be okay or not. I mean, I didn't know. I haven't even edited, so it stayed on a drawer for quite a long time until I had the idea. I talked to producers that I had this idea, and all the producers thought that adapting the Blondes was a better idea for my first feature. But I met Mary Colomer, who is the producer of the film, who is the producer of Morena Films, and she said that she wanted to work with me in whatever I had to do after she watched the short film. And she asked me what I had in mind, and I said, well, I have a couple of ideas, but I also have the treatment for Cerdita, the film. And she said, okay, let's do that. And so yeah, I started with the first draft of the film, and I was working in other things at the same time, but we took the project to Cannes Film Festival, something that is called Focus CoPro, which is for features that are going to adapt short films, and we won the prize there, which allow us to go to a specialized lab, which is a lab for just one project, which is fantastic because it's tailor made for you. And was brilliant. It was with Marcelo Martinezzi as my tutor, who is the director of Las Herederas, which is a movie that won in Berlin 5 years ago. And he's an amazing, talented filmmaker, and he was so generous. So the second draft of the screenplay was very close to what we got in mind, and so we started moving it around to networks and television companies. But when Miracle America believed in the project so much, but when you find networks that find it hard to get behind a first feature that needed a bit more money than other first features for women, and also with a tone that it was not just horror, if you want to make horror, they will love it because it's they see a clear market, but it's horror with a bit of comedy, with a bit of drama, then they get really nervous because they don't know what they're gonna get. So we had quite a difficult time finding someone to back us up, but of course we found Movistar, which is a Spanish network that really trusted us, and they were great, and also Televisión Española. And of course that takes a long time because you have to do someone said that when you're a filmmaker, the most of your time gets spent making dossiers. And it's true. And so yeah, we did that. We did also images and media program, so there was always a lot of interest behind the project, but you have to go step by step. And of course then the pandemic arrive, and we have to postpone a whole year. So that meant that we had to make some changes and some not with the screenplay or nor artistically, but yes, with the way we were going to address the filming. Now we had to go to this village and just not leave the village. The whole team there for 32 days with our
Mm.
families. We also had our nursery for the kids that were with us. So no one had to leave, and it was easy for everyone involved in the film. So yeah, the hardest part was really getting the money. Yeah, artistically, I felt always very, very listened to and very seen, and also very, very well taken care of by my producers. So it was not that was not a chore. The chore was basically getting the movie made. Yeah.
There's a certain theory that you get what you expect
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, right? We spoke with Laura Lamus on the
Mm-hmm.
first night of Pendance. She had directed Sweet Disaster, and she's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. She's an
Mm-hmm.
incredible filmmaker. And I said, what piece of advice would you give to yourself 3 years ago? And she said, take up more space, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this,
Mm-hmm.
this concept of, speak up and
Mm-hmm.
just go for things
Yeah.
before you think that you're ready, because there's a social conditioning with female directors, which is like conditioning broader female, which
Mm-hmm.
is, sink into corners and fold. And
Mm-hmm.
I have been following your work now for 3 years. Obviously, of course, why wouldn't we? We loved Piggy so much when it came to us, and it came to us in 2018. We programmed 2019, and ever since then, I've been following your career unfold, and I've watched interviews that you've done and magazines that you've written.
Mm-hmm.
I've never sensed in a moment that someone could not take you seriously. So where do you find that? And is it just something you can develop, or something you're born with?
But it wasn't. I think you develop, because most of the time when I was a struggling filmmaker, I didn't trust my own voice. Basically, because you have this idea of the tormented filmmaker, or writer, or poet, or whatever, and I just felt so inexperienced. So for me, it was a question of trusting my own voice and my own experience, because I was able to share with the world basically. So, and when that happened, I was no longer afraid. I just couldn't care less what people thought, basically. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, now I made the I made my mind. I just don't care. Basically, just bring it on.
I think, but that comes from a self-awareness of, I know who I am, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, right? Because
Mhm.
because the thing is, if you don't know who you are, then every comment, every criticism, every suggestion becomes a threat to who am I, and it's always changing. But I think to some degree, if you claim your voice as you
Mhm.
have, not only does your work transform and become honest and better in all ways, not only do I think collaborations with producers, cast, crew become clearer and more ethical and just better, but I think ultimately, you just stop giving a fuck, right?
Yes, basically, you just care. You're just scared to be honest with your work,
Yeah.
basically.
Someone once asked me, what do I admire about you so much? Because I often will tell filmmakers that she's one of my favorite filmmakers, and people will be like, okay, well, what is it that you really, really admire about her? And I said, she's such a badass.
Really sweet, actually.
No, it's true. Actually, your work has drastically influenced my own finding of my voice. Because one thing that's maybe a little understated, it's not just women who have trouble finding their voice
Mhm.
in society. It's everybody has, to some degree or another, trouble finding their voice. So I think sometimes we pander a little bit too much to the whole gender thing of like, oh, she's a female filmmaker, so all female filmmakers should draw inspiration. Actually, no, I'm here to tell you I'm a male filmmaker who's absolutely drawn so much inspiration from your story of finding your voice. This, first of all, the visual literacy, the nature of the camera in your short, The story itself, the juxtaposition, the layers, so captivating. So captivating. Anyone that you show this story to, no matter what walk of life they come from, they connect to it some way. You know, they have an emotion to it. How do you, as a filmmaker, hone a script to the point where it has that type of connection and resonance with an audience?
You know, I've come from a background of working in TV, and when I wrote the screenplay for the short, and when I wrote the screenplay for the movie, and that's something I've been doing after that every single time. I try to forget about my. Of course, when you have your experience, you forget about it. No, you're able to forget it, but I try to forget it and just be as irrational as possible. So I write what you're going to see, but I write it from a very emotional way. I don't. I did a treatment, but I did a treatment like it was a vomit. You know, I try. I don't think as my first act, second act. I try to forget everything I did for TV. I forget it. I try to. I don't know. I think it's something that comes from behind of your reptilian mind that is always more honest and more interesting. Of course, when you rewrite, you take some of the stuff because maybe there's too much. You know, so when you rewrite, you trim it. But I think that's something that comes from not thinking what should be done. That is, for me, was so freeing, and it also made it more honest. But also, I write what you're going to see. I try to visualize the story. So when I know when I go to a location, people will usually say, "What?" But you know, already know what you're going to do. You say, "Yes," because I wrote it in a way that I know how I'm going to shoot it. So I have to find a location that will fit my image. Of course, you always get some things from the places you go to or from the people you work with. But there's some part of that original seed that is already there, you know?
Yeah,
So, I don't know, if that makes sense.
it does. Working with Laura, who we've had a chance to converse a little bit with her over the years, and such a lovely person that you found here to play this character of Sarah. But I'm curious because this does happen sometimes when you adapt a short where the protagonist is a teenager, right? That teenagers don't stay teenagers forever. And Lara
Yeah,
is not a teenager. I was very
yeah,
shocked to realize that she's a little
yeah.
bit older than the character she plays. So did you face some resistance from people maybe saying, can you recast this? Did you ever get that suggestion of like, was it ever explored? Or for you, it's like, no, I'm never going to do this without anybody else.
There was never a question that it was going to be her. Actually, one of the best things of having her in the short is that when I brought the film, I brought it for her because it gave me so much freedom because she's such an amazing actress that I know she could do it.
Mm,
You know, sometimes you write for someone and you don't know what they're gonna be able to do, but I knew it was her. So I can throw stuff at her and she will be able to manage everything, and she's gonna be so subtle, and everything is gonna be there because it's fantastic. It's like, you know, it may sound a bit too much, but for me, it is true. It's like knowing that your movie is going to be acted by Meryl Streep. So, you know, that all these little things are going to be there and it's going to be fantastic. So
mm.
there was never an option. I mean, it would be a drama. I mean, I don't know. It would have been a major drama if she wasn't able for some reason to do it.
Hmm. You know, last year during Q&A for Through Her Eyes, if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned that your films are sometimes political.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that there is a political undercurrent and a social change to
Mm-hmm.
some degree. And if I remember correctly, which I absolutely do, in 2019, you had done a pre-recorded introduction for your film, which we played for the audience at Pendance. It
Mm-hmm.
was like a 200 people in the midnight crowd. And it was effectively that you had made this film for somebody. Can you
Mm-hmm.
share a little bit about like where your heart is with this story?
Well, I made it for my daughter,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
I made it for my daughter when I made it to confront my own fears. I was bringing a child into this world of violence. I experienced bullying when I was a teenager, and I was so scared of what she was going to face. And so, basically, I put every single fear of mine into a short film, and I just kind of was a way for me to deal with that. And basically, in a way, the movie is still about that. There's always this motivation, no? There's of course you cannot change the world with a movie, but you can force people to walk in someone else's shoes, and sometimes it opens their minds. I mean, I had that experience in cinema. I mean, many times. I remember watching well, many things. I mean, it changed for starters. Cinema changed my life because I'm a filmmaker, so it did change my life just by falling in love with it. But also, I've seen things that made me realize who I am by seeing someone else's experience in cinema. And for me, every time I see that someone said that some film is not political, I think it's false. I think everything you do is political. Every single choice is political. And if
So,
it's not something that is clearly political, it's either because it's right wing or it's just mainstream, and it's mainstream right wing, basically.
I mean, yeah, depending on how you see it, even the concept of being apolitical, like the absence of politics is a politic in itself. I get I get where you're coming from with that. I'm curious, your daughter, how old is she now? She's
She's now 7 years old.
Is she still too young to watch this film?
Yes, she comes. She's a big fan of Laura Galan. She loves her. Is a favorite actress, but she's only seen the teaser of the short film. That's it. And she's seen her dressed as Laura, as Sarah, because she was filming with us, and she played extras in some of the scenes. You can see her walking all there. But she no, she can't. She loves Laura, but she can't watch the film yet. I have
Did
some friends who have seen who has children their age who have seen the short film, but I haven't shown it to her yet. No.
what are you like? That's very interesting, and I concur. I agree with your parenting decision. Great filmmaker, great parents, good stuff. Like I completely agree with that. This concept of you know, taking something extremely personal to yourself, right? Because ultimately this is a very personal. You're exploring personal fears, personal anxieties about motherhood and bringing a child into this world, and then adapting that with this skin, which is
Mhm. Mhm.
universal. To
Mhm.
talk about the transition of taking a fear and transitioning it into something that people can actually digest.
I think we can all empathize with feeling with someone being scared. I mean,
Hmm.
with I think we could all empathize with that. I think when you put the camera close enough to a character and you see the nuances and the fears and the way they don't know how to act or whatever, in if you're honest and you come from a place of honesty,
Hmm.
the audience can smell it. It's like when you see a movie that has been done, so very social drama, and you see that behind the social drama is a very privileged filmmaker that doesn't really know. You can tell that as well. I think there's something, but if the same filmmaker has a real strong connection with a theme, even though they don't come from that background, you can even tell that, and you can connect that with that emotionally.
Yeah.
um I don't know. I think you just try to be as honest with what goes on with the character. Part of translating the short into a film, that's what I did. I mean, I try not to think about plot, just about how she would react,
Hmm.
and just follow her. Just really follow her and how she would do the things that
Hmm.
would happen. Mm.
I remember last year you had mentioned that you have exactly what you want in your head before you get to the set. Like you know exactly what you want, and that's what you shoot, so that nobody can mess with that. Like that's what you want is what you shoot. You don't shoot coverage. You don't do anything else. We've had several films at Pendance this year, and we've had Lucifer, which was 4-year process, and then we had Grand Bolero, and you know other films where I'm hearing now with the directors it's like very spontaneous. How
Mhm.
meticulously do you plan, and how does that planning go for directors who are looking? I think one of the things that sorry to I'm rambling like I feel silly I'm
No.
rambling like and I want you to speak but I
No.
want to what I'm trying to say is that a lot of directors out there think that they understand what planning looks like from their
Mhm.
perspective. But if they could step into your studio the day before you go to you go to camera, I think they
Mhm.
might have an understanding that there's a lot of steps that maybe they're missing or undercooking or maybe just not focusing enough on. So how prepared are you, and how do you prepare? Is it storyboards? Is it a big binder for the entire crew? Like, how do you
Mhm.
communicate? How many weeks and weeks? This process. I'm trying to understand
Mhm.
how meticulously you plan.
Well, it depends on the project. In TV, I do like the what is, I don't know the name now right now in English, but
Treatment,
I'll do all. There's not a treatment. I put all the shots I'm gonna do, how the actors are gonna move. But
shot
what I
list.
do, yeah, shot list, but also the movements of the actors, how they're gonna move. But not only that, I'll always try when I go to a setting. I'm going to. This is what trying to tell in the story. Who is the protagonist?
Mm,
Of this, because in a scene could be shot different ways, but and you say that we're trying to do this, and the actors are gonna do this, and for this I want to end with this shot, and I want for this shot I want like this kind of glass because I want to see her behind the glass because I want to reinforce this meaning for the scene. So I try to be as concrete. Sometimes I even, for example, in some scenes in for Cerdita, my DOP is Rita Noriega, which was also in the short, but also with my costume designer and with my set designer, we have very clear that we're going to tell the story of a journey, which is Sarah's journey, and
mm,
it's an emotional story. And we knew that everything that we were going, how we're going to shoot it, how we're going to light it, how she was going to be dressed, the sets it was going to move around had to tell the same story.
mm,
So we knew in this part of the stories it was going to be framed this way, and to be framed this way, we had to have these kind of elements in
mm.
the story. And this is the tone of the movie. We're not doing delicatessen. We were doing something that is realistic, but it's a guided reality. It's not social realism, and the camera is not going to move in the first part of the movie. Then we're going to start moving the camera after this. So, but everybody knew about that, from the script supervisor to my producers, to my sound designer. Everyone knows that. So we all going in the same direction, because if you're not clear, make choices that may be wrong, but at least there's gonna be a choice. I, but everybody's going in the same direction, and people can give you ideas. And when I shoot, I always direct. We always know which shots we're gonna make. But of course, something can happen, and the actors can give you something that is amazing, and you have to be able uh, to be agile enough to recognize that moments of magic, and so you can step out of the way if you need to. You don't have to be rigid, because magic something happens, and sometimes happens on set. And
Yeah.
if you're too rigid, it could just disappear, and you want to grab it if you can.
I think there's always this component of people bringing things to set.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, there's not expected rain and a little bit of rain falls and it's the perfect thing. And if you're willing to adjust in that moment, you have something that you didn't even know you wanted.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
is
you don't
there,
have time. You don't have time, and you have 5 shots, and you say, well, these 5 shots are going to be just one. And we have to move the actors to make it on time.
yeah. Is there a moment like that that you can remember on your feature, especially
Yeah.
where yeah, I could tell when you were describing it that you were referencing a specific moment. Are you able to share what that moment was?
Well, I'd rather not, but it just say it was for the best. But
Okay.
something happened. Something happened. Actually, the nights in southern Spain at that time of the year, they're very very short. So we just had to shoot because the sun was saying hello from the horizon, and say, okay, we have to do this very fast. So I'm gonna change everything. You guys have to be on your feet, and let's do this.
That's incredible. The working relationship between a director who's extremely concise and on point and prepared, and the relationship with a DP. What is it that drew you to Rita, and like what is it that has informed your working relationship between short and feature? Like, is it her eye? Is it her attitude? Is it everything? Like, what do you appreciate about her that made you want to work with her again on this?
I think she's an artist, basically. I think she's an artist. She's very calm. She works a lot. She's more obsessive than I am, and that's fantastic. But also she's able to think behind the box, outside the box. You know, she gets these ideas that are so out there, and I trust her completely. And we really speak the same language, and we're really good friends. So it's fantastic. You know,
Mm.
it's fantastic. It just works very well.
Then we had director Scott Monahan for Anchorage on earlier, and he was talking about working with people who know more than you about
Mm-hmm.
things and how important that is. And they were describing how it was their first feature, but they work with a DP who had been doing it for 10 years, and Aaron. How important is it? Because I'll put this out there, most directors don't do this. In my
Mm-hmm.
experience, most directors are looking for people who have less experience than them so that they can not be challenged. Do you enjoy being challenged on set? Do you enjoy having, or in the pre-production process?
I basically don't trust people that say yes. You know, or that people that I don't trust. I don't trust people that uh, that always say yes, basically, or that everything is fantastic. If not even in any part of the equation, even in editing or everything, you know, it's like I want people to look for more, you know, because otherwise, you know, there's so many talented people out there, and I think one of the worst things that can happen to a director is when everybody around them just wants to work with them and just wants to say, you become like yes man.
Yes,
It's like
man.
my first draft is not gonna be good. It's not gonna be good. So if you tell me it's good, I'm not gonna trust you. You know, it's like, come on, say the truth. If you tell me the truth and I like what you have to say, I'm gonna fall in love with you, basically.
No, I think that's a remarkably rare quality these days because everyone is basically just hearing what they want to hear and they're telling people what, because it's like it's a risk, you know, it's an absolute risk. And I hope that there are directors out there and, you know, crew members out there who watch this and realize that the risk is real on the other side as well. Because
Mm-hmm.
yes, on the one hand, if you tell somebody, yes, your first draft of this is absolutely incoherent and stupid and it doesn't make sense, if you do it
Mm-hmm.
kindly, then they will at least understand you. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with somebody who maybe is very upset by that, then the upside of that is you don't want to work with that type of person anyway. I don't think you want to work with someone who's just so defensive about any critique of their work that they would just shut you down. So I think
Yeah.
the
The
quote
same
is,
with critics.
yeah, no,
It,
absolutely.
mm,
Absolutely. There's some critics to, you know, I read some of the reviews of Pendance films that are out, you know, and I so disagree completely with what they're saying about these films. It's like they've misunderstood this. But, you know, I've learned over time to let it go. It's
mm-hmm.
okay. You want to give something 2 stars, 1 star, it's fine. I get it. I understand because the film is purely subjective. And just because I absolutely love something doesn't mean everyone else is going to bring the same person experience into it and understand it the same way. So I think that that's maybe what makes film so frustrating for some people because you never really know. It's not like a math equation where you're like, I'm right or wrong. It's always like, I'm right sometimes, I'm wrong sometimes. With some people, it's very subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Um, so to the concept of just Sundance
Mm-hmm.
2022, you know,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately virtual, but still an amazing film festival to showcase your film world premiere. Two-part question. Number one is, how was that experience of learning that you got into Sundance? Because that's an awesome thing and a thing to put on your resume for the rest of your life. And the second thing is, how much are you really looking forward to seeing this in a theater with an audience?
Well, well, the first part is it was so weird because we sent a rough cut and we thought it's not gonna happen. And so my producer, Mary, called me and said, well, you have to sit down now. I said, what? And I just couldn't believe it. And we got so happy. Laura Galan asked for, here we do the Reyes, which is like when we give our presents in Christmas time. And she got all this winter wear for Sundance, and we were so prepared. We share a combo, and then didn't happen. But we made a party of it here in Spain. No, we with my team, with the production team, and it was very weird because everything was online. We did the Q&A online, we did the premiere online, we did all the interviews with the press online. But of course, it was great. It was great in the sense that we got to see the movies. If we had been there, probably we had been doing interviews or meeting people, and we wouldn't have been able to watch the movies. And we got to watch some of the movies from home, and that was fantastic. We saw so many great movies from other filmmakers. That was great. And so, and also, it's a great thing for the movie because it puts us in a place that we got distribution in the United States thanks to that, and also in the UK and Australia, Germany, Italy. So it's been fantastic for the film already. And for the second part, I'm just dying to watch the movie with an audience. I've seen it with my crew, but I haven't seen it with an audience. And the crew, of course, they already love it. But I want to see it with an audience. I'm dying to do it. Yeah.
I remember watching the short Cardita like in the theater, and there's some films that as a festival director I skip out of because I'm busy and I'm doing other things and whatever. It's okay that I skip it, but some films I just stand in the back and I just watch everybody, and I'm just watching, especially if the filmmaker is not there. I'm watching for them to see like if what they wanted to happen in that film is happening. And all of those oh, all the catharsis, the release is so beautiful when it's like 200-300 people at once doing it. It's like the most alive feeling. So few films have even the possibility of doing that. That to see them in theaters is just so incredible. And this is one film that I think was just, I will never forget seeing the short in the
That's so
theater.
good.
It was just so incredible. Even the sound, the soundscape in the beginning by the pool, like there's something so unnerving about it. So creepy and
Yeah,
so suspicious.
the sound designer is the same one. It's Nacho Arenas, who is amazing.
Yeah.
And now we have the addition of Oliver Arson, who is our musician, who made the movie only with sounds of nature and of the things we film. For example, the cinema music with the chainsaw, and with the screams of the girls, and with the crickets. That's the music is made out of that only, and it's amazing.
Yeah. We have some audience questions here. Can't wait to see your film. What's next for you? I suppose, like, what's next project-wise? Yeah.
Well, I'm working on the adaptation of The Blondes with Mary Colomer, my producer for PIGGY. And I'm also financing a movie, a horror story for Filmax that hopefully will get financed for the end of the year. And I'm also writing a TV series for Morena Films. So I'm quite busy. Yeah.
That is an incomprehensible slate of things. Wow. And this was a where can we see Cardita? I suppose you answered that with the distribution. The distribution coming up in the United States. I don't know where you're based, Boyana, but I guess in the United States, is it coming out soon? Are they releasing?
It's gonna be by the end of October, I think. When we're gonna play some festivals that I cannot say. But it's going to be in October, and it's going to be a theatrical release in the United States, and we're pretty happy about that.
Like a full theatrical?
Yeah, no, theatrical, and at the same time VOD, I think. I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but I was going to have theatrical. Hola? Hola, hola? Hello? Hello, hello? Just cut them? Hello. Hello. Hi. I think it just froze.
Hey, yeah, we completely froze there. Sorry about that. Yes, so you were saying, I'm sure everyone else heard it except for me, but you were saying that you'll be in theatrical in the United States, and I'd asked you full theatrical, like all throughout the United States.
I think so. I'm not sure. I don't have the details.
Yeah.
I don't have the
Yeah,
details yet. But yes, and also yeah, it's gonna play in a we sell to a lot of territories, and I'm really happy about that. Yes.
incredible. What's one thing that you would like if there's somebody walking out of a theater having just seen it, what's something that you really wanted them to take away from your future?
For me, is that it means whether they like it or they hate it, that they feel passionate about it. Either way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most filmmakers who've ever made a film that a lot of people love took the risk of making a film that a lot of people could hate.
Mhm.
I think they're two sides of the same coin. Um, and I think that's exactly what I was alluding to earlier. It's like no matter what, whoever I recommend this to, they always have an opinion about it. And I think
Mhm.
that that's incredible. Um, I invite everyone to check out the short film Cerdita. It's out. Alter has it. It's got racked up like what 9 million views at this point. A lot of people have seen this film, and patiently wait for the festival releases and the follow along with the film and see if it's coming to a state near you sometime soon, or in Europe or in the United States, and then definitely support the film beyond that. I think so much of how this film has gotten out into the world is word of mouth. There were specifically two women. I'm not gonna tell you their names, but two women who attended Pendance 2019 that became like social advocates for this film, like
Okay.
absolute advocates. They're both heavier set women, and they both said that seeing a festival that so confidently highlighted this film as their best film winner, um, because it sort of underscores the validity of what the film is. I think the festival awards are sometimes misunderstood as like, what the hell does it mean that this is the best film? And it's in fact, it's like what the festival is saying is this is what encapsulates most correctly our ethos, our perspective, our understanding of cinema in that year. And they started, I started seeing them on social media. They were posting in groups, in social groups, like, please check this film out, it's so great to see representation on screen. And so I have a feeling that if you haven't heard about this film yet, you will hear about it exactly like 100% within 8 months, because people, once they see it, they cannot stop talking about it. I know that for sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you so much, Robert. Thank you
it's
for all
it's
the support. It's fantastic.
it's my pleasure. You have our support
I
for life.
can I can't wait to go to Pendance, but this time for real, not just online.
No, for sure, and we're gonna do that. Yeah, we're gonna have you we're gonna have you here next year or the year after. We're here for a long time, and yeah, can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. It
Thank you
was
so
great
much for
talking to
doing
you.
this.
Ciao.
Ciao.